Hey there. Have you ever noticed that your 1099 form from Amazon doesn't match your business reports? And when you're looking at your sales, you're like, something doesn't match. I'm looking at my sales from last year and they're different from what they are this year. So if you've noticed that, then hopefully I have the solution here for you. So what the issue is there is that Amazon calculates the 1099 different than a lot of the reports that you pull. So I'll go into that. And just real quick to introduce myself in case you're not familiar. My name is Kevin and I'm from Maximizing E-commerce. I help people build e-commerce businesses that they can be proud of. And what Amazon does when they calculate your 1099 is they take your unadjusted gross sales. And I'll get into that in a minute of what that means and how that pertains to you. And just as a quick back and forth explanation here, in case you're not familiar with Form 1099, it's basically the form that you get from Amazon that explains what your sales are, or not really sales, but your income. So basically you can get it from a variety of different sources. It's kind of like if you have a job and you get a W-2 at the end of the year, you get a 1099 when you're a contractor or you're a service provider and you're not an employee. So Form 1099 is basically what you're giving to your sales professional to basically calculate your taxes. So what Amazon does is they take your sales proceeds, so that's what you sold in actual sales, but then they're also adding in sales tax, gift wrap, and shipping charges. And this can get a little bit confusing. And this is a conversation I had with my my professional tax preparer, because what ends up happening is tax preparers look at it a little differently than how Amazon calculates it. At least that's the way my CPA mentioned it to me. And just as a disclaimer here, I am not a tax professional. I don't want to pretend to be one, but I do want to at least give you some information to help you when you're talking to your CPA. So where this can get a little bit confusing if you're not careful is just as you get the 1099, Amazon gives a 1099 to the IRS. And the IRS is going to expect at the end of the year, if you take all the 1099s you receive, whether it be, Amazon from different marketplaces or from, if you have other income sources, you should have your sales that you're reporting, your revenue coming in needs to be at least what is on your 1099s. And the way my accountant explained it to me, if you don't, like if you have more sales on your 1099s than you report, the IRS thinks, oh, you underreported your income, so we're going to send you a bill, which is basically like the way he explained it was an automatic audit, so to speak, where they're going to send you a bill expecting you to get paid the taxes on that different amount. So let's walk through how that might sound. So let's say you had $100,000 in sales, and let's say you collected $2,000 in shipping charges. I'm just kind of making these numbers off the top of my head. And you had $3,000 in sales tax. So your sales were $100,000. So if you reported to the IRS, you had $100,000 in sales, but the way I just illustrated it there with quick back of the envelope type math, it was about $105,000. So Amazon reports $105,000, but you're just looking at the business reports of your sales and thinking it's $100,000. So the IRS is saying, well, there's a $5,000 gap here. We need to get our money for that. So the way to rectify that is you would take $105,000 as your income. What you pay out in sales tax of $3,000 would be an expense, and $2,000 in shipping charges. Well, actually, that would be a additional income. So it's counterintuitive to include sales tax as income and then as revenue, and then subtract it as an expense. In fact, my CPA said that typically the way a lot of CPAs think, that's over giving out the amount of money in and overdoing expenses. But at the end of the day, it still comes out to the same number and it balances out to what the IRS expects. In fact, the example he gave me was like, let's say you had, you were a gas station owner. Lost my train of thought there. So let's say you're a gas station owner, and just for quick math here, let's just say gas costs $3 a gallon. And let's say of that, $1 a gallon is for taxes. So typically the way CPAs might want to think is just take that dollar in taxes out of the scenario for the tax return. So they're really just reporting $2 per gallon because that's what the actual income is for the, or that's the money that's coming in that isn't just going, money in, but quickly going to the government, for taxes on that gallon of gas. So that $3 gallon of gas, even though $1 is going to taxes, they're just putting $2. So the way we're doing it, it's more like that $3 is now what they're reporting, but now in expenses, they're taking out $1. It's still $2, but it's now 3 minus 1 equals 2 rather than just saying 2. So in my example before, instead of 100,000 plus 2,000 for shipping costs, which we should still report, and then and leaving 3,000 out, it would be 105,000 minus 3,000 for the sales taxes that was collected and paid out as an expense, as opposed to just leaving it off of the form. That probably gets confusing. It was a little confusing for me to swallow at first when it was explained to me, but if you do it a little differently, I'd love to hear in the comments how you handle taxes. Now you may also be saying to yourself, well, I don't get a 1099, so if you have less than $20,000 in expenses, in sales, and that's the unadjusted gross sales, not just the sales themselves. So that's, adding in the sales tax and the gift charge, gift wrap and shipping charges, yada, yada, yada. So if you have less than 200 transactions and $20,000 in unadjusted gross sales, then you will not receive a 1099. However, you're still expected from the IRS to report those sales. Now, how you choose to do it, you don't have to worry about the balancing out 1099 forms, but you still have to talk to your CPA and bookkeeper about making sure that you're including those sales. So hopefully I helped you and didn't confuse you. What you think about what I just said here, I'd love to hear in your comments down below. If you found this video to be helpful, please give a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. And that way I can make sure to get you more helpful information to help you as you move along in your e-commerce journey. Take care and have a great day. Thanks.